So Julie and I both had our birthdays this week, and
Yeah.
I have to tell you, and Dan, you're about to experience this more frequently. When you have a birthday and then you tell somebody your age, and somebody says you look great for your age, I know they're just trying to be nice, but I've had that happen quite a few times, and I know again they're just being, trying to give me a compliment, but it's really not that much of a compliment, and I can't really explain to them why. But I also notice the only people that will say that are the people that are younger than me. So people older than me, they never give that compliment. You know what they say? Hang in there.
You made it another round. Yeah.
Hang in there.
How
Anyway,
old are you, Chris?
63.
60. Okay, you look younger for real. I mean, it's not a call. I
Thank
tell
you.
you, it's 54, 55.
Chris is really cut up too. He takes great
Yeah,
care of
very,
himself.
very cool.
You always have. He's never, how long
Sure.
Chris, we met you when you were like what? In your late 30s, maybe?
It was in the like probably mid 90s.
Yeah. Isn't that
So
incredible?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so today is Julie's birthday. So happy birthday, Julie.
Thank you, guys.
We are We'll see. All right.
We'll see.
So listen, we have got an amazing Powerhouse Talk. We worked a lot on the outline for all of you today. There's obviously a lot happening. All these guys just got back from traveling different parts of the world and all the real estate events. You just get ready. This is going to be a very, very powerful show, perhaps the best show we've done so far. So I'm going to start up by asking you all this question, really making a statement. Everyone says AI is going to eliminate real estate agents. And I have to say, Mr. Heller got me started on this based on something he said last week. So everyone says AI is going to eliminate real estate agents. I actually think the opposite might happen first. AI might create the biggest wave of new agents that we've ever seen, or am I wrong? So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about we're going to have three segments, three areas of debate. The first one will be, will the real estate singularity create a new will create a real estate industry apocalypse or a new real estate industry enlightenment? Julie, you have to have liked that. That was pretty creative.
Yes,
Yes.
I did.
Right. Segment two. What happens next for real estate? We'll dive deep into open clause, explosion, unleashing agentic agents. And I'm expecting Dan to pick up the slack on that one. He and I have been talking a lot about that between Powerhouse Talks. And then obviously we're going to answer any listener questions that we might have, which we do have a few comments, which we really certainly appreciate. So guys, welcome to today's podcast.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just jump right in. I am going to start out by asking you this question, and Chris, I'm going to set you up for this first. So let's get to the first segment right away. Some industry leaders, I did say that. Some industry leaders are predicting there will be fewer agents because of AI. Heller predicted this. Argue for or against that stance. Do you think there'll be fewer agents? And Chris, you have to go last, so we can try to convince you off your stance that there's going to be fewer. Orlando Montiel, my great friend from Venezuela, who's now
Way fewer. I completely agree with Chris.
okay. So why? You have to make your stance, and then you have to argue it, and then we're going to listen and prove you wrong. But I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to share my opinion.
Yeah, so very, very, very simple. With the rise of AI, what's happening now, but before real estate agents, regardless of their ability, they had this wall, right, in front of their clients, which is they had access to listings, information that was privileged. Now with AI, it's much easier to get that information, and not only that, to interpret that information. So at the end of the day, you need a more sophisticated and trained real estate agent that develops the trust, the relationship, and more important, and strategy for the client when he's in the position of buying or selling real estate. Before, I mean, we have over what, 1,200 agents.
No, it's more than
And
that. Well, so let me give you actual numbers. So right now, as of last count, there's something like 1,400,000 to 1,600,000 members of the National Association of
right,
Realtors, but there's probably at least that same number that aren't members of the National Association of Realtors. So you understanding? Like here in Puerto Rico, there's 10,000 agents and only 1,400 are members of the MLS. And that's always been true nationwide.
well, that more to my point, no? The more agents, the higher the number of people that are not qualified to help buyers and sellers. So we're gonna see fewer, way more qualified, we're more sophisticated, and usually those are the ones using all those new tools like AI, OpenClaw, etc. So I
Okay.
agree 100%
So
with Chris.
your perspective is there'll be fewer agents that are doing more transactions or fewer transactions?
Fewer agents, more making or doing more transactions.
Okay. You're next, Mr. Lesniak.
Yeah, so I think this is a similar question. Like,
Dan, could you get a little closer to your mic?
sure. Does it
Okay,
sound good now?
Yeah, great. And just in case you guys aren't, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dan, but we also are on YouTube. So you can obviously listen to us on all the audio podcast platforms or watch us on YouTube. So sorry, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think a few episodes back you talked about travel agents, and you asked the panel and maybe the audience, like, are there more or less than there were 20 years ago? And a lot of people were surprised there is more. And I think the same thing will happen in the real estate industry. AI tools are lowering the cost of entry. They're leveling the playing field. Like, I no longer have an advantage to have a big team of admins, right? I no longer have an advantage if I joined a brokerage that invested $1 billion in technology, because that $1 billion investment is now obsolete with AI. Like, for 20, 30, 40, $50 a month, I can have an army of VAs. So I think the playing field is being leveled. I think younger people will probably adapt quicker. I think more and more people will get into the industry because a lot of the busy work and the things in between meeting the client and close the deal will be done by AI. And so the people that can go out and create relationships, which I think will always be there, are going to get more deals. So I think it's fewer large brokerages, large teams monopolizing deals, and a more level playing field that it's going to be kind of come democratized, if you will, more. And I think there's going to be more agents.
Beautiful. All right, Heller, let's hear it.
We're on a trend where I believe there was going to be fewer agents anyways, and I think this is just going to amplify that. There's uh, the gap between the agents that are doing a lot of business and the ones that aren't, I think is going to widen, and that's going to cause agents to leave. Now, some of those agents will not leave the industry. They'll join a team or, because they have that option now, which is a good option for a lot of them. But overall, I think there will be fewer. I also think that there's going to be more and more companies, more and more platforms, more and more usage of AI. I mean, every day people are getting more creative and, and creating new things. And I do think that the number of consumers, especially in the younger generations, that will be leveraging AI for their needs, whether it's real estate or something else, will increase. And they won't they they don't know what they don't know. They don't know, what they're giving up by not using an agent or not having an agent or trying to interpret the information themselves. But I think a lot of them will do it.
Do you guys think that the AI revolution, or whatever we're going to end up calling it, the singularity, which is really what it is, do you guys think it's going to create unemployment? Do you think people are going to lose jobs? I mean, that's the theory, right? White collar jobs, the information workers are all going to be essentially, displaced. Do you think that's true or false, Julie?
I think it's definitely true. At least in the short term, we're going to have quite a few people, even, white collar, normal people, jobs, educated jobs, because AI is going to replace what they do, and it can do it faster, better, 24/7 for free or no money. And I think that is going to also bring more licensees in. Typically that's what's happened when there's big layoffs, when there's unemployment. What does everybody do? They go get a real estate license. So I think temporarily we're going to see an increase, kind of combining your two questions here.
Yep.
But then I think that how agents pan out will be different. I think you're going to have super agents that can do far more transactions with ease because they're assisted by their agents, because they're agents as in agentic agents, right? Because they can scale a lot faster. They can do more deals with less stress. And I think there's going to be an underclass of agents or agent assistants, human agent assistants, that are more of the door openers, stuffing brochure boxes, maybe things that we don't yet have robots doing. So I think that we're going to have more agents, but I don't think that they're all going to be equal, especially the ones that don't even know this is going on yet.
So you said something really important. And Chris, I want you to kind of handle this. In every single downturn, and let's just say I'm not predicting and we're not predicting there's going to be any kind of downturn or recession or anything, but there's definitely a lot of people that are going to be looking for new directions career-wise.
Call it the great displacement, perhaps.
There you go,
Something.
the great displacement. Julie's always good with her terms. All right. So then you've got the great displacement caused by the singularity. So, the real estate singularity, why wouldn't that cause literally hundreds of thousands of people to get into real estate? Why would that not do what it's always historically done? And we don't see massive waves of people getting licenses, and not a different type of person. Somebody who's more of a white collar background, probably educated, probably going to take have higher professional standards getting into the game, having maybe worked in a, like I said, an information type job in the past. Why won't that happen this time?
I don't look. I could come up with reasons why it may not. There's not. I don't think there's going to be a significant change in the number of properties sold. So even if it does happen, I think the amount of people leaving or those amount of people that come in and then quickly exit, in the first 12 months, I think is going to be really high. And so I think the
You
net.
just, I'm sorry for interrupting you, sort of sorry, but you just said something about the number of homes being sold. Why would you say there's not going to be more homes being sold? Because there's not more homes to sell? Is that the reason you're saying that, or there's not demand?
It's a combination. Demand is demand, I think, is the biggest issue.
So you think we have
Um,
a demand issue based
I
on what?
do. And I think it's largely because of two things, affordability and confidence levels.
What's
And
affordability mean?
there's an affordability index that we've always watched for, the last 30 years, and that's the percentage of people that can afford a home with the typical down payment based on their, the average incomes. That's impacted by two things, by interest rates, which impacts the payment, and then by prices. We are still at historically high prices, right? We've had since 2012, we've had an appreciating market. That's a long cycle. And now in some areas are softening up and have softened up, but overall across the country, it's the
So,
trend has still been up.
so as far as affordability goes, with interest rates going down and with frankly junk fees and mortgage payments being reduced, if not eliminated, that is going to make
But
us.
there's first of all, um, interest rates going down hasn't happened yet. So
Yes.
your hypothesis that it will happen. They're still above 6%. Um, the I helped my brother yesterday with a quote for on a property he's buying. So but
Dan's
the
checking.
cost of everything else, I didn't say it. I said the cost of everything else is going up, right? The cost of owning a home is going up. Taxes, utilities, all the other things that
So are rents.
impact. Um, yeah, rents are in some areas, yeah.
No, so
But
are
the cost
rents.
of everything is going up, so that impacts
Right.
people's affordability, right? Their
But
insurance is higher.
but
Their
if they can afford rent in San Diego or Billings, Montana, they can afford, most likely they can afford a payment. And now where your argument is valid, in my opinion, respectfully, sir, is when the payments are more than the rents. But if you want to talk about affordability, the heart of the affordability thing is where the rents are not the same, or where the it's cheaper to rent than it is to own. But in most parts of the country right now, Mr. MBA is going to check my math on this, sub commander, that for the most part, you actually can buy a house for the same amount monthly as you can rent a house. And when that happens, that eliminates the affordability argument.
Yeah, but there's also the other component, which is I think people underestimate all the time, and that is confidence levels. People don't make big expenditures unless they're very bullish or confident in what the near and short-term future looks like.
Well, but you still have a house payment to make, whether it's to a mortgage holder or whether it's to a landlord.
Yeah, but
That has nothing to do with
for a lot of
confidence.
people renting, it just feels safer not coming up with that big commitment and that big down payment and everything
That's the
else.
point,
So
the down payment.
But
yeah.
also,
Yeah,
Chris,
it's a big difference.
but there's another angle to what you're saying too, which is true, is if you're not confident, you're gonna have a freaking job. I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, if you're in one of these segments that you think you might get displaced, you're probably feeling that's the lack of confidence that you're referring to. And I don't think there's any way to debate that. That's obviously, there's definitely a lot of people that are feeling insecure out there right now. But
No.
overall, conceptually, it's really an inventory and a payment problem. Would you agree? Would everyone agree?
I would add the down payment problem. Not
That is
everybody's got
that's
that
key.
much money laying around. And I think that this is going to, maybe not immediately, and I hope that this happens. I think this is going to lead to different types of housing and different types of mortgages. And I think you're going to have more, think about Gen Z, et cetera, maybe like a condo situation where you've got a bunch of whatever we're calling the agentic Apple thing set up in an area, and they all have their agents working for them, and we don't need garages anymore because we have flying cars, and you can get into this with maybe 5% down, and maybe you all share a mortgage. I think there's just going to be innovation. I don't think it's like tomorrow, but I know that this is being worked on with different types of mortgages and different types of housing. And if AI can create, not just 3D printed houses, we already have that. There's already neighborhoods full of those. What's next? Maybe there will be a lot more innovation. And we're all thinking about the 30-year fixed with 20% down on a traditional house that costs on average $400,000. I would project perhaps there's going to be different options. I don't think tomorrow, but maybe in the next 2 years.
When
So
Julie and
here's,
go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
I just want to add, we're doing what we tell agents not to do, which is try to focus too much on things outside of our control. And for anyone listening to this, nothing wrong with this conversation, nothing wrong with what we're talking about, anything else. But if your mind is anywhere other than what do I need to be doing to take advantage of the business that's out there, then you're going in the wrong direction.
So the point of me bringing these topics up, and 100% agree with you, because they need to stay practical and tactical, is if we can have these conversations for them and they trust that we're going to think it through to protect their back so that we're looking downrange so that they don't have to. That's the whole point of this. So I want Chris, thank you for reminding me, right?
That's a good point. Very good point.
Yep. So the moral of the story is we're debating all this and we're thinking through this, and we're going to share with you, like I know Dan's got a lot of cool stuff to share with all of us, but we're going to share with, tell you guys so that Julie and I get this question 100 times a week in one form or another. Do I need to worry about AI? What's going to come next? And the answer that we always hit them with is what Heller just said, because that's the truth. Tell me the best 5 places for you to make money in the next 60 to 90 days. Just focus on that. Don't worry about anything else. We'll worry about all that for you. So thank you for reminding me. By the way, if you guys aren't subscribing to the newsletter, that's where we go deep on these topics, but we also keep it very light. I mean, we're talking about expireds for sale by owners, lead generation, building teams, those types of things, building smart teams. The newsletter is where the party truly is. Make sure you're subscribing to powerhousetalk.com, or you can just click the link below. All right. So any other closing thoughts on this second topic about massive agent displacement?
Well, I think historically there's been tons of examples of innovation, like changing where people work. Like, the tractor put a lot of people out of work, and they just find other areas to work. And generally speaking, you look back hundreds of years, the U.S. economy, it's gotten better and better and better. And what you can, like the lifestyle that people have is better. Like I'd rather be a middle-class person today than like the richest dude in America 200 years ago, right? Better lifestyle. So I think it's opportunity. I think the displacement might happen, but you might have more qualified people getting into real estate, and maybe instead of making $100,000 at a boring desk job, they're making $200,000 as a real estate agent selling $6 million a year. So I think it's opportunity.
Well,
I don't know. I think
go ahead. Sorry.
Being one of the richest people 200 years ago, I don't know. I might opt for that.
No, dude, you can
die. I'm not going to have the hot water and the
in the lifespan.
Some of those things.
No air conditioning. I'm out.
But, exactly. Lifespan.
I'll own several railroads and a lot of steel mills and.
Well, but Dan, you make an interesting point, because with whatever displacement is going to happen, it may be with more. It may bring some different quality thinkers to our industry, because they've been in corporate. I mean, I have a coaching client right now that is on the edge of leaving corporate America, where she's got a very good paycheck and she's going to kill it in real estate. She's a great example that her job for sure is on the horizon for being AI'd. And she's super excited about being in real estate. So it could be an interesting twist, I think. I think that's a good point.
Jules, the conversation you and I had been having is really to try to understand what's going to happen next in a time like this. What are our benchmarks? What was happened in our lifetimes? And so what's happened in our lifetimes is nothing like what's happening now. But really, unless you are looking for reasons to be pessimistic and maybe even intertwining some politics into it, there really is no reason not to be incredibly optimistic right now about what's happening next for the real estate industry. And if you just, to Chris's point, if you just stay drilled down and be in alignment with your highest and truest purpose, which is being of service to other people, everything else is going to align behind that particular North Star for you. All right, guys, so let's move on. All right, let's talk about, let me make sure I'm staying true to my notes. Orlando, you have anything as I'm making sure I'm on track with my notes? You seem to have a pensive look on your face. No? Okay. All right, let's describe the real estate office of the future. And I'm doing this for the sake of the fact that there's been a lot of brokers that have been contacting us about moving over to EXP and teams too. And they're all, again, everyone's aflutter with basically what's going to happen with AI. They are listening to this podcast. They listen to Julie and I, our other podcasts. They're listening to a lot of different things, and they're feeling very insecure. So what I want to do is I want to have an honest conversation about what the real estate office of the future might look like, and this agentic singularity, real estate singularity that we're certainly living in the midst of. So with that, Dan, I'm teeing you up to go first. You might basically hit all the high points, and we can just feed off what you say.
Yeah, well, I think you're wanting to get into OpenClaw and what that's doing, and I'm very early in the stages of learning about it. And I think no matter how much AI you're using, you need to think of yourself as a student, because it's not like you're going to find a strategy and stick with it for like a year or even 6 months. Like, things are changing fast. So, but I think a lot of us are using AI right now. Like, we use Lovable to make websites faster and more incredible than we ever could before, right? We use ChatGPT to generate, blogs or marketing plans faster than we could. And there's other examples. What OpenClaw now, I think, is going to give people the ability to do is you communicate with it through Telegram, which is like text messaging, give it task, and then it uses like 200 plus AI tools to do that task. And that's a different level than what I think most people are at.
Let's give an example, Dan. So, because again, we're all thinking, well, this is an app, and I know how to use an app, and I have to make sure this app works with this app, with this app. So what you're describing is you would come up with the idea. Dan Lesniak and his amazing wife, Carrie Shaw, want to start a new newsletter for a particular community. And before, you'd have to go and choose the newsletter platform, write articles, set up the CRM, make sure you have some nerd that's attaching all the blah, 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 blah. But you're saying with AI, it's not like that at all, and that you are now able to describe the difference.
Yeah, so you would just tell it, like, I want to make a newsletter to go out to a list of people in this area, and it would generate the content. It would pick the platform like Beehive or Constant Contact or whatever, and it would actually like send it out, right? Like, you give it access to your accounts. Another case use I heard, like, somebody was moving his learning platform from Trello to High Level, and he basically told his OpenClaw, Agentic, whatever it is, like, I want to move my students from this platform to that platform, and it did the whole thing for him, and then came back with like questions like, do you also want this or that? So it's basically like what a virtual assistant would do for you. And you can run it for a few $100s a month, right? And it could literally replace like 100 VAs, like, if you had that many. Most people.
Well, we talked a few podcasts ago about the difference between A players and B players. I mean, you guys remember that? And so really what we're describing essentially is that you can only have A players working for you. And like, if it's so incredible, almost hard to believe that you're going to be able to think of a task, something that normally would have required you being the boss of, to making sure all the things are communicating, and then all the people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and holding up making sure it's best practices and A/B testing and just endless amounts of garbage. AI will do it all for you, and it'll do it 24/7. And it will not ask you to problem solve. It'll identify the problem, and it'll solve the problem, and it'll test whether its solution was, the best solution. It'll test headlines. It'll do all these different things. And so, Dan, technologically, you and Carrie, you guys sell obviously gazillions of houses per year. how many platforms are you using right now? Different apps are you using right now that AI could hypothetically next 90 days completely eviscerate?
Probably dozens. I have no idea.
Dozens, right?
Yeah.
So like, have you and Carrie talked about like one of the top things that technologically you're going to use this for right away, going from the theoretical to the practical?
Yeah, so we're interviewing with someone that helps people set these up this week. So, we're gonna start there, but I think um, trying to add agents to the team, like, right? We have a recruiter that helps with that, but that's obviously gonna be one of the first areas we test. Like, can OpenClaw connect with people on LinkedIn and tee up meetings? I know another agent at EXP that is having success with OpenClaw using LinkedIn to set appointments on his calendar.
That's
So,
incredible.
that's just one example, but there's tons.
Yeah. So what do you think in Orlando?
It is great, man. If you start using it, I don't communicate via Telegram. I communicate via WhatsApp, and it literally sends me WhatsApp messages at 3, 4 in the morning about if, create a marketing campaign, right? Create a campaign on Facebook, let's say that, and it will literally send me that information and also new ideas. Not only that, I like to be on top of pre-construction, which is what we do in our team. And the task is every single morning at 6 in the morning, give me a new summary of what's going on in the pre-construction world in South Florida. And it will give it to me. And during the day, it's giving me some new things that I should be learning about. New YouTube videos, for example. It's 24/7 searching. Hey, this is a new YouTube video that just pop up in YouTube that you should watch about this pre-construction, right? This is a tweet about this developer that you should know about,
Well,
right? So it's
Orlando,
working 24/7 for you.
you
Isn't
said
it?
you sent me a video the other day of some gal who was doing in Spanish, talking about a brickle condo, and I did watch it. And you're right, her hands did seem disproportionate to the rest of her, but other than that, it was indistinguishable. I mean, she
I
did,
have to call her.
huh?
I had to call her to
Yeah.
ask her if that, because her hands look a little bit big, right, in front of the camera. But I had to call her again. She wasn't she wasn't using. She's not a professional at AI. This is very early stage. But 6 months ago, you couldn't do that. 3 months ago, maybe you couldn't do that. Again, she's a real estate agent. She's not a professional at AI.
Was she
And
using
she's doing
HeyGen?
this with no budget at all, right? So imagine this 6 months from now.
But it
Where
wasn't, Dan, the whole thing was AI. The video, the
yeah,
audio, she didn't write the script. It was all done in Spanish. And Orlando's right. It was freaking perfect, other than, the thing we mentioned.
the background would change. She was
Yeah.
talking about specific pre-construction, and the pre-construction background would change.
And it was
It's
13, it was 13 minutes too. This wasn't just a little cheapy shorty.
13 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's changing everything. What are you thinking, Dan?
What OpenClaw is doing right now is just mind-boggling. It's just unbelievable.
Well, I mean, you and I are in the coaching and training business. It's one of our businesses. It's one of your businesses. And I can see how I'm obviously this is going to change everything. And, and everyone in Libertas, I mean, our EXP Realty group, we're making what it will essentially be your own AI coach. It's going to be with you all the time on your phone. And you're going to be able to have a live video. I haven't told Julie, but it's probably going to be AI coach Julie, and she's going to listen to your conversations. She's going to listen to your, your prospecting calls, your listing presentations, and she's going to coach you in real time. And we've got that. I've got it conceptualized, obviously, but I'm waiting for the technology to catch up with it. But it's going to happen this year. And so what we're going to do is everybody who's in our EXP Realty group, they're going to be coached 24/7, and we're going to be able to do it in different countries, or I'm sorry, different languages, because our group, you guys, all your groups are on we're in 22 different countries. I don't know if you guys have looked, but all of us are. And so we're going to do it in every country, Germany, all the things. And it's going to be a 24/7 real estate coach, and everyone inside our EXP Realty group is going to get it for free. So, and I know Orlando, you and I have talked about this a number of times. You're going to create the same thing for Spanish new construction. So these things are threatening from one side because we're sort of technologically, dealing ourselves out of a revenue source. But the truth is that we're not afraid of that, because that means a lot more. And this is a different way of thinking. It means we're going to attract a lot more people to our EXP Realty group, because the app in the free version will only be available to those that are in our EXP Realty group. Chris, what are you thinking? Good idea or bad idea?
I think it's a good idea. I think that these are all things that anytime we can do something that did I say that?
Did you
Okay.
say look at? You said it three
Yeah.
times. Yeah, you said it three times. I'm counting.
I think I heard about 2 sentences ago I said it. The
Look at
there's anytime we can do anything that creates more efficiency and more effectiveness, then we're winning, right? Um, it reminds me of when people a long time ago used to talk about hiring an assistant, and they say, "Oh, I can't afford that. It's going to be an expense." And my response would be, "Look, it's always an expense if you hire someone and then go play golf more or go to the beach more. But if you use the time then to go get more business, I think AI is the same thing. If we're just playing around with it and creating distractions for ourselves, then yeah, it's going to detract from what we're doing.
Well,
But if we're looking at
you just said it though. You said something kind of genius, right? If you're spending your time to play more golf or going to the beach, well, if you're playing more golf when you're going to the beach and you're networking and you're actually, connecting for the sake of being the tip of the spear for a real estate transaction, that changes the context of the leisure activity 100%.
It is. Except when I go to the beach, I usually go by myself and walk and have earbuds in, so I'm not
But that's
interacting.
very valuable, right?
That's valuable too. That's
That's a
great.
high return
Charging you,
activity for you,
Chris.
right? For all
and
of us.
when you see the sunrise, do you think about it or do you feel it? Because Orlando might get that.
He's making fun of somebody.
The anyways, the well, yeah, if you're able to create more efficiencies, then that's great. There always has to be a single goal in mind, and the single goal is, how do I connect with more people? How do I build more relationships? How do I bring more value to those relationships? Because things are pendulums, everything is like a pendulum, and the pendulum is going to swing way over to where everything is looking to be automated and everything else. And at some point, people are going to be they're going to be desiring and wanting that human interaction, right? It's going to go so far over to one side that then the human interaction is going to, trump that, and we have to maintain that. We have to improve on that. We have to be able to provide value. People want that. Like as a consumer, yeah, there's times when I don't want to talk to anyone. Like I want to be able to do whatever I want digitally, quickly, automated, everything else. But when I need a question asked or I'm not 100% clear, I don't have clarity, I want that human interaction. And if that human interaction isn't giving me value, isn't satisfying my needs or helping me, then I'm going to go elsewhere.
What do you think in
Can I take
Birthday
30
Girl?
seconds?
Birthday Girl goes next. What do you think of Birthday Girl?
Well, I think in terms of very granular, practical, tactical coaching client level stuff all the time. And what I see is we're all mostly training ourselves to think of AI first when there's a challenge where I'm getting time vampired. I'll give you an example. One of my clients has over 600 doors in management, and as such has a constant flow of new applications coming and going. And applications take a while to review. So, like on average, maybe as many as 30 a day at some points, right? That takes a while to make a good decision. Last week, they started putting that through AI and said, here are all the applications, rate them from most quality to least quality and tell me why. And it did all 30 applications in less than an hour. However, that was not their first thought. Their first thought was still, oh my God, this is going to take me days to go through all of this, which we're all programmed to do. We're all kind of in our own real estate grind. I think in early days, it's how can I use AI to make my life easier and just add those things incrementally. It doesn't have to be everything all at once. It's a thinking thing.
Well,
Maybe not with the younger generations. Like if you ask Zoe, she doesn't have this "what do I think of first" issue. She just goes right to the AI.
our 12-year-old daughter admonishes us all the time for talking too much about AI. I mean, she's making fun of Julie and I, and we're the old farts.
She's like, what's the big deal?
But Julie, you're talking about Lance, right? That's who you were referring
Yes.
to. So you missed the most important part. Didn't he not hire somebody who quit that he was paying to manage his PM business?
Oh, that was on a different section of his business. But yeah. I mean,
And that guy was $250,000 a year, right? And he got rid of
Yes.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. and never looked back because we don't need that spot anymore.
Right.
But it's that stopping yourself and saying, how can I use AI? Can I use AI to save time, to save money, to save hassle of hiring and firing, all of those things.
Chris, I agree with you on your pendulum thing, and that's definitely true. I hope you guys all got that point. Those of you who are playing home game, I mean, it's absolutely true. The only place I could find where that isn't true, everyone wants more personalized attention, and they're going to want to be connected with a human. The question is as to whether or not the masses of real estate transactions will be able to afford that higher level or be willing to pay for that higher level communication. And if they're feeling close enough with an AI bot that and it's vastly cheaper, then that's going to displace agents. I mean, any points or of debate on that one? Dan, what are you thinking?
Tim,
Oh, sorry,
just wanna
Orlando. Go ahead.
to Chris' point. Everything we do should be directed exactly to what Chris said. Relationships, man. I had a conversation with my son last night. I said, listen, one thing that I regret on over 25 years of business is not developing even strong, being more intentional about developing relationships. Yeah, we've done great, amazing, but I could have done even better. Looking back, the one thing that I would tell my son that is going to college now is the relationships.
Don't jump on my third segment. You're moving ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, but that is to Chris's point,
Yeah.
that's the key. The AI and everything we do should be to facilitate, right?
Get us back to it. Get us back
to personal and business relationships.
I agree.
Which is going to be the only advantage because nothing is faster than a machine.
Dan,
right?
Dan, were you thinking something? You have that. I'm thinking something. Look.
Yeah, I think AI will allow us to have deeper connections with people if possible. You mentioned the coaching avatar. Carrie actually created a GPT, a custom GPT for the team. So now the agents on the team are trained to go to Kelly, they call it Kelly, and ask their question like, the buyer gave me this objection, or how much should I recommend for the EMD? And so now 24/7, Kelly can answer questions, and we uploaded tons of training and documents that Carrie's used before. So it really
Are they
does
using it? Are like
Yes.
Okay. And so when you have how many people do you guys have on your team now?
There's, I think, between 55 and 60 on the
And
team.
so when you have somebody, there has to be some people that don't want to use Kelly that want to talk to a person. I mean, is that person just not a fit? Or when that happens, what do you do?
No, I mean we just train them to use it, but what it allows now is Carrie can have deeper conversations with agents, more personal conversations, more relationship, or talking about the
Mm.
vision they want to build, because she's not answering every the seller told me this question. So it's allowing more time on the things that are more important.
But that's really, really a great point because what you're describing is essentially what Chris said and what Orlando said and what Julie said is that you're essentially delegating the lower level, though important conversations, and then you're able to focus on the ones that are going to require more intuition and more human contact, which ultimately, to Heller's point, is what people are really always going to long for. Is it time for the next segment?
Sounds right.
How do we came into Dan, Chris, and I? How do we came into EXP? Because you sent us an email marketing sequence? Because you had a landing page?
Well,
How many
no.
hours you spend with Chris? How many years?
I'm going to tell the story. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a story.
And with me.
Okay.
I know
I'll tell the story because it's a good story and it's going to make Chris he's going to be able to say, I told you so. And it'll make him feel good. All right. So Julie and I were, coaching a ton of agents, and I had in a very short period of time, a bunch of really great agents, office managers and whatnot, that were losing a crap ton of agents to EXP. And Julie and I had been aggressively pursued by EXP since they started. And, we just always said no. We thought we needed to stay broker agnostic. We don't want to align with a particular broker because it would, we were worried that frankly, it would make it so agents we're worried that we're too EXP, even though they're with Remax and whatever. We are stupid, or mostly I was stupid. Julie never thought that. I did. Truth. All right. So in any event, I get all these people that are like, panicked, and I'm thinking, what the hell is this EXP thing? And so I call Chris up. I've always gone to Chris for little, nuggets in coaching, frankly. And I called up Chris and I said, what the hell's going on with this EXP thing? And his reaction was he started laughing at me and said, how do you not know about this already? It's basically what it did. He was a rude bastard is what I'm trying to say. He wasn't. Anyway, so he said, how do you not know about this already? How are you guys not doing this? I have no idea. And I was like, because I had my blinders on. I was just being stupid, frankly. And so Chris connected us with Gene, answering your question, Orlando. And Gene was doing an event down in, might be skipping some steps, doesn't really matter. He was doing an event down in San Antonio. Julie and I went down there, and Julie and I sometimes get recognized when we're together, not so much when we're not. So when we walked into this room, it was maybe 300 to 500 people. We went to different, parts of the room, and then we started, we were just there to observe. We wanted to find out what the vibe was. And I'd never experienced anything like it in my life. And we'd spoken at events, done zillions of events, just real estate events to the point where I don't even, it's just too much. And I'd never been to anything like that before. And it was incredible. It was like people were excited, optimistic, but they were pursuing a vision and a vision that was more than just the next home sale or the next marketing gimmick or the next easy button thing. Because revenue share, frankly, had made it so that this environment was very, very supportive of helping them build their real estate businesses. But in addition to the real estate businesses, there were a lot of agents that were creating passive income, which many of them would never have been able to create in 10 lifetimes. And so that was giving them a sense of freedom and control that you could feel in that room. All right. So we go to this thing. We're driving back up the toll road in 129, I think, Jules, from San Antonio back home to Georgetown. No, like 80 miles. There's no speed limit on it's called the Texas Autobahn. So we're blazing around, and Julie's like, "Oh, so what'd you think?" I'm driving, she's pasturing because, Her Majesty always likes to be driven. And so and so she said, "Well, what'd you think?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I just was like, I was still nervous about it. I was fearful." Because again, broker agnostic, coaching business. And Julie said, "Well, you've always said that we're supposed to always be doing what's best for the agents, right?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, do you think EXP is what's best for the agents?" And I said, "Based on what I've seen and heard, and people like Heller are telling me," I said, "I can't see why that wouldn't be true." Then she didn't say anything. And then she goes, "Well, wouldn't you be a hypocrite not to tell the agents that we're supposedly supposed to be, caring of and leading about EXP if you truly believe it's the best thing for them?" And it's just like, as soon as she said that, I mean, it's one thing to hear some snarky comment from Orlando or Dan, which I hear all the time. It's another thing to hear from your wife. And so after that, it was an easy decision because she was right. And it was the best business decision we ever made. So Heller, thanks for the, you were much more polite than that. The nudge, yeah. But I mean, does that answer your question, Orlando?
Yeah, it's again relationships. If you didn't know Chris, maybe you would have never been joining EXP.
I think that's true. And by the way, through EXP, I met Dan, I met you, and some of the best friends I've had in my entire adult life. It's for sure. That's true. And it's we're all part of this. That's the sense of I hate this word, but the sense of community that, like I said, and we felt it in the room, and I've certainly felt it for the last 7 years. We've been at EXP since 2019. Do you guys concur with that?
Yeah. And by the way, just to clarify, and Dan and Julie will get this in Orlando. It's not that he doesn't like the word community. There was a feeling associated with that, and that made him feel uncomfortable.
I'm not sure what that means, but I'm pretty sure it's mean. Why don't you just say you look great for your
all
age?
amiable.
That's probably it. All right. Well, since you guys are starting to pick on me, we're going to go on to segment 3. Welcome to the Real Estate Confessional. What is the single biggest mistake you have made in your real estate career, and what did you learn from it? Oh, Dan is definitely going first. If you guys are watching on YouTube, he literally is beating sweats. All right, Dan, let's hear it. The single biggest mistake you made in your real estate career, and what did you learn from it? By the way, this is an interview question.
Yeah, it's a general theme of staying in comfort for too long.
No, this is not a TED Talk, son. You got to give a specific example, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I was comfortable running our own brokerage, comfortable just having the team there, comfortable on thinking transactional of, hey, let's sell 400 homes next year or 500 or 600. Very, very comfortable. And because of that, I put off the decision that led to growth, which was to join you at EXP Realty.
Yep. Okay. I can't. Yes. You're next, Chris. I know you have so many mistakes. Which one did you learn the most from?
I made a big one yesterday. Like, I make them every day. And the one, the one yesterday is like such an amateur mistake.
Let's
So
move
when you
on.
say
What is it?
oh, that was the one yesterday?
No,
Oh, I got it.
the single
Oh, the
biggest
single
mistake.
biggest one? When you've made thousands and tens of thousands, to say which one is the biggest?
Besides the choice of your shirt today.
This is a shirt that is multi-purpose. Looks okay on camera, and I can wear it when I go to the gym later.
Same. All of us, I
Thought
think.
out.
All of us. Julie's got her gym shirt on underneath her sweater.
Yep.
It's called
Oh,
versatility. We'll go back to
Versatility.
you. You can think about it. Orlando, single biggest mistake, and what did you learn from it?
Well, since I already spoke about relationships, I'm just not going to repeat myself. But number two, I would say, uh, which a lot of agents make. So that's what I brought it to this
Mhm.
podcast. It's ignoring market cycles, right? It happened to me in 1998, and it happened to me again in 2008. And after
Be
that,
more
I
specific. Be more specific,
uh,
please.
financially prepare for the cycle,
Okay.
right? When the real estate is going like this, we think it's never going to stop. So we don't take the precautionary the actions to prevent the downturn in the market cycle, right? So in my case, it's saving a lot of money and preparing and building those relationships. After 2008, I said, it's not going to happen to me again. And because it happened to me twice. And I've seen that mistake happen to so many agents. They make X amount of money. It doesn't matter how much. It's not about the amount. And they just spend it in lifestyle. They don't invest it to grow systems, to hire qualified A players for their business. They just spend it in a lifetime. And hopefully, by you watching this podcast, you don't make that mistake that I made twice. That cost me a lot of money. But more important than money, aggravation, anxiety that I see agents going through every single day. So
Yep, that's
that's
a
it.
good one. Julie Harris, single biggest mistake in real estate, and what did you learn from it?
I think we've all touched on this, but as an agent, looking back, I would have done two things. I would have had us go up market sooner. We did, but it would have been better to do it 3 to 5 years sooner. Although back then we probably looked like we were 12. But and I would have done 10 times the center of influence and past client types of meetings and events, and I would have been more social
Right.
That's from
because
the
I
real
can see
estate.
the value of that, and we would have spent less time and money in marketing.
Well,
Yeah.
so let's talk since we've been in the real estate, or since we've been outside of the real estate business, just so you know, and you guys go a little bit deeper so we can give people real answers here. So, Julie, outside of that, what would you have thought the single biggest mistake that you can say you or we've made, and what did you learn from it? Aside from those easy low hanging fruit that most agents make in selling real estate.
Yeah, we've talked about it on our other podcast a little bit. Is we fell prey to what they still fall prey to. They just have a lot more data points than we did, which was thinking that there was an easy button other than just doing the real work of real estate. That's what more experienced agents call busy work or old school or basics. But the basics are what pay the best and keep the most money in your pocket and are most predictable. And we fell into that for a while too, thinking that there's got to be something making it easier. So let's just go blow a bunch of money and see how, on marketing or, different things. It was just a different variety back then than what they have now.
I'll
You
go
know,
next. Chris goes last. I'll go next, and my answer is very simple. It's what you guys have basically said. Julie and I have had a habit since we've been married for 35 years this year. We've worked together almost all of those 35 years, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, one of the consistent mistakes that we've always made is we stay on a path for almost exactly 2.5 to 3 years too long.
yeah,
That's what we
I
do.
agree with that.
We try to basically make the horse go further than the horse was designed to go. Where what we should have done it because businesses have curves. It doesn't matter what it is, but it'll go up, and then things get easy. And we have unfortunately we wouldn't iterate. We wouldn't go to the next level, and we've done that on different things. And that would be my mistake. And now the example I gave earlier about joining EXP, professionally speaking, that was the smartest business decision aside from getting real estate licenses that we've ever made. There's no two ways about it. Because but guess what? We waited probably more than, I mean, certainly at least 2 or 3 years earlier. We definitely
Yeah.
should have done it. And then we would have been, who knows what trajectory we'd be on now. But that would be it, basically being too slow to change. And
I agree with that.
And you and I are constantly trying to learn from that. All right, who's next?
Chris is the only one left.
Yeah, I'm the only one left. So what was kept coming to my mind is all the ones that caused a lot of embarrassment. They weren't necessarily big mistakes, but they're the ones I remember the most where I got really embarrassed. But what you just said, Tim, in 2017, I had an opportunity, met with Glenn to join EXP in 2017, and I didn't, and I had reasons, and some of them were business reasons that I couldn't. But in retrospect, I probably could have figured out how to do it, or I could have sped up the process. That was a costly mistake. That was a costly mistake that I didn't act on an opportunity. But again, there are so many. I mean, I remember when I was younger, very young in my career, before the internet, we used to do newspaper advertising, and I ran an ad. I had this couple that I like performed a miracle for them, and they loved me, and they sent me a test. They wrote me a letter, and I didn't ask them to. They just wrote me this letter, and I ran that letter as an ad without getting their permission, and letting them know about it, and they got super angry at me, and that was like, it was a one that left a mark on me to this day.
Evidently,
just lots of little mistakes. Transactional mistakes where have to buy a refrigerator because you forgot to put something in it, or a washer and dryer, like all those mistakes that you learn from and go, okay, I'm never going to do that again.
So the recurring theme that all of us describe basically as being lulled into complacency. That's what all of us just describe. Waiting too long to make decisions. Orlando, maybe, I could go out there and network and get to know more people, but I just decided, I'd rather do something else. I mean, that's really the bottom line. And what's interesting is that that's a recurring theme with everybody in everyone's life, and it's what all of us regret the most. When you're looking back over your shoulder, it's the opportunities that you should have taken, the roads you should have taken, but also the speed at which you should have taken those roads. And the reason I put that as the last question today is because it encapsulates a place where most of you guys are in your real estate careers, not just your careers, but your lives. And Mr. Heller just nailed it on, the nail on the head earlier when he was saying, let's make sure we keep this practical so we're delivering the most value to all of you guys. That's what he said. And that is hopefully what we're doing, but I'm hoping you all realize that there are going to be more changes. Like, changes in real estate typically happen extraordinarily slow. I mean, it's not measured in months, it's measured in years. It's one of the nice things about real estate. Shit's just super slow to ever change. That's not going to happen now. And it's not going to happen the way it happened before. We have no prior examples of knowing exactly what's going to change because of AI, but we do have prior examples of how we're going to react to the changes that are going to happen in AI. And so if you're, like all of us, guilty of maybe waiting too long, I'll strongly suggest one of the first steps you should all make is align yourself, partner with people who are going through this with eyes open, who are forward deployed, who are excited, if not anxious, to make the most of what this new world has to offer us, and not being fearful, because with fear is going to lead more complacency. And again, now more than ever, and hopefully all of you understand this, the world is going to pass you by. It's not going to pass you by like over the next 5 years. It's going to pass you by over the next 5 months. Anyone else want to tail end on that as we wrap up today's podcast?
You're good to close.
All right, good. Julie, anything else you want to say for your birthday? Happy birthday. Oh, I got one more thing. Let's do it. Ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Not enough funny people.
Happy birthday, dear Julie.
Oh my gosh.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, guys. I
There you
appreciate
go.
all of you. I really do. Thank you.
Put my
God
special
bless
hat
all
on
of you
for
guys.
Julie.
Thank you for
Thank
continuing.
you, Dan.
Thank you for continuing to listen to Powerhouse Talk. Now, listen, if you got anything, a tiny little morsel from today's podcast, you know what you're supposed to do. Your homework, your moral obligation is to give us a 5-star review on at least iTunes, but ideally iTunes and Spotify. Give us a 5-star review and a pithy comment. And I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to read some of the comments. that we've gotten, especially on Spotify. We'll do those next week. So I want to let you know, those of you who did do as we requested, we will read your comment and we will acknowledge you, and we will give you, a lead for mentioning your city and state, so possibly you can get real estate referrals. We'll do that on the next show. But in the meantime, if you've not yet done so, please do give us a 5-star review over on whatever your podcast listening platform is. And other than that, you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll talk with you on the show next week. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.